evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm going to read off the paper just so I don't miss anything. But tonight we have the pleasure of hearing from Danielle Arzola, who is a Venezuelan visual artist, human rights activist, and lecturer winner of a Trailblazer Honor Award of Logo TV for its contribution to the LGBTQ community. Danielle Arzola popularized the term artivism, being the creator of a series of posters with approaches that face homophobia and transphobia. Work that was also translated into 20 languages and supported via Twitter by Madonna. Danielle Arzola's artivism theory has been shared in several universities in Latin America and the United States, including Amherst College, Johns Hopkins, Northwestern University, the University of Minnesota, and the University of Alberta in Canada, among others. Danielle Arzola's work has been exhibited in galleries, museums, public spaces, magazines, and on TV. So as you can tell, we are very fortunate to be hearing from him tonight. So if you please give a warm welcome to Danielle.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thanks. And thank you for the introduction. It's very special to me being here today. And something that I always like to say before giving a presentation is that when I have to talk about this in Spanish, I feel like Superman, but when I need to do it in English, I'm just Clark Kent. So please bear with me. My name is Daniel, not Daniel, and sometimes I make emphasis on that because even when it's something very basic, it's also essential to recognize yourself in the sound of your own name, especially for me as an immigrant. My identity is always building up, so I want to talk to you tonight about art, about human rights, about communication and identity. I'm Venezuelan, so I live and grew in Venezuela my whole life till I was 23, 24 years old. How can I do this? Okay. And as I told you, I'm here to talk about art, and I define myself as an artivist. Not only an artist, not an activist, but an artivist. And I'm going to talk to you why I define that way. I believe art is knowledge, and knowledge must be shared. I believe, like, through art, humans have the capacity to show how we live and the things we face. If we pay attention to history of art, we could understand better how humans behave. For me, art is a tool for communication, but also it's a message, it's the echo of a message in time. And I learned the things that I knew, I think, paying attention to other artists. Let's say that my life and my work are very connected. I think my work as an artist was a response to the things that I live in Venezuela. If you know anything about Venezuela in this moment or in the last years, is that we were facing a very complex situation with a very abusive government. In this moment, Venezuela had more than 6 million that have to leave the country, including me. That makes the Venezuelan migration the biggest in the continent, at least in the last 2 centuries. More than 6 million of Venezuelans, we had to leave our countries. But as I told you, I think if we pay attention to the history of art, we can understand a lot about our behavior. And what I like about art is the capacity that art has to transcend. Sometimes we can put a message as artists in one of our creations, and that message can survive our life, our time, and get connected with other generations and show to the other generations the things we were facing together. So for me, art is communication, and what I call artivism, and that's a word that people used before me, but I spent the last decade of having this conversation with people and explaining how the dynamics of art works in the processes of communication. And what I call artivism is to intervene in the dynamics that art used to communicate, to create symbols that allow us to communicate and to identify ourselves in culture. The first concepts that we found about artivism in the 20th century was about just art with explicit social content. But I believe that art is always social if we pay attention. I grew up in a place without museums, galleries, cinemas, and the first thing that I did was draw. I used to draw a lot. I actually learned to draw first and to talk. And the walls of my house were like a proof of that. My mom was super pissed with me because I was just using all the walls. And then I learned how to talk. And for me, drawing was always my way to communicate with others. And that works for me, but sometimes we can born in a reality or a society where our identity is not allowed. And that was my case in Venezuela. Because sometimes we learn how to run while we are being chased. And I think that was part of my reality in Venezuela. I grew up watching my name in the walls of my neighborhood with homophobic slurs, receiving anonymous cell phone calls to my house with homophobic slurs. And I grew up like that, trying to ignore in that situation till I was 15 years old, because sometimes we can ignore violence, but when we ignore violence, there is a big danger that sometimes we can find violence face to face. And then salvation becomes into a matter of luck. Good luck, you're safe. Bad luck, you are not. So when I was 15 years old, the same neighbors that used to call and harass me, they decide, like, making jokes and making fun of me, it wasn't enough. So one day they decide to tie me to an electrical pole. They took off my shoes, they take off my pants, and they burn me with cigarettes and fireworks. Because in my society, people like me is not allowed. In that moment, they also destroyed my drawings. And that was like my biggest possession. I think that for an artist, their work is the reflection of their inner universe. It's the most important, it's your voice. And at that moment, I understood two things. That art is fragile because what you create in months can be destroyed in only 1 second. But also that the body is fragile because it only takes a match to mark your skin forever. When you turn off the TV in Venezuela, the only way they portray LGBT or gay people is as jokes. They never show a character that fall in love, that have a family, that have feelings. They always show like a person pretending to be gay or wearing a dress and telling to people that, you know, we are only here to make jokes. And that's the only way you can see LGBT people in the media in Venezuela in the last 2 centuries. Even right now, for example, if you are in the army and they know you're gay, you're paid out with prison. Even right now. So when I was 18 years old, when I was like 21, 22 years old, after that attack, I escaped, but I stopped drawing like for 6 years. I was like, there is no sense in drawing anymore because people is gonna destroy what I do. So I heard the story of another guy in my city. His name was Angelo Prado, and he was 18 years old when his neighbor burned him alive with gasoline, just for being gay. And I realized that I was lucky because I escaped from my attack, but there was people out there that they don't have the chance to escape. And that my story, it wasn't only my story, it was the story of people like me in my city and in my town. So I decided to draw again, and to draw in a format that people cannot destroy. So I learned how to draw in the computer, to create illustrations that people cannot destroy. And thinking about how the media in my country talk about people like me, I decided to call that project I'm Not a Joke. So I decided to create posters. I had a basic formation as a graphic designer, and then I studied art in an art school where having water and electricity was a miracle because Venezuela was falling down in this military dictatorship and everything was failing in the country. So I did the I'm Not a Joke project. This is a series of 50 posters with phrases that I use sometimes in my life to defend myself. And I share that on my social media. I post that on Facebook, on Twitter, and other social media. And what happened after that, I published this in 2013. It was that people from all over the world started sending me messages saying, I need this in English, I need this in Portuguese, I need this in Chinese, I need this in French. And I realized that people was needing that because they were feeling like me. Maybe nobody tries to burn them alive, but they felt that their identity and their dignity was being attacked. So thanks to people like that, the I'm Not a Joke project became viral around 20 countries, and now my work is translated about 20 languages. I will say that my work changed and saved my life, because I think art has the capacity to bring people together. Art has the capacity to remind us that we are important, because anybody can be an artist. An artist is someone that just one day makes something that makes others to feel admiration. We don't need to be singers to admire someone that has a beautiful voice or to fall in love with a poem. Because art connects us with that, with our capacities, with the emotional sense. Art connects us with empathy. And I brought a video to share with you all, because I know I share this sad story. But as someone from Latin America, I don't know if you are familiar with telenovelas, but I feel like my life was a telenovela, like a soap opera, because after all that darkness, my work connected me with people from all over the world. And even one day, someone like Madonna shared my work on Twitter saying, I love this. And thanks to that, I had the chance to escape Venezuela 8 years ago. And I have a video that I want to share with you.
Welcome back to the 2017 Trailblazer Honors. And now, from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Titus Burgess.
profound impact on our lives. All evening, we've seen images of our honorees created by Venezuelan artist Daniel Arzola. Daniel was forced to flee his home country because he dared to stand up for the human rights of his fellow LGBTQ citizens. He calls himself an artivist, and I love that, because he uses his art to fight against injustice and motivate others to do the same. Please join me in thanking Daniel and all of those who create change by creating art. You artivists, give yourselves an applause.
Joining us now, Emmy Award-winning actress, activist, and star of Will and Grace, Deborah Messing.
Thank you. I wanted to share that because that was maybe the first moment in my life when I was next to a bunch of people that wasn't trying to erase my identity, that they were celebrating who I was, who I am. And it was like a happy ending, especially because, you know, I was sitting next to Cyndi Lauper and Nancy Pelosi. But also because when I was a kid, I used to, like my mom used to beat me up if I danced Cyndi Lauper songs. So then one night life put me on a table with Cyndi Lauper. And I think that's the way I believe we can use art to change our reality. Because it's an individual process. It's you in front of a white canvas. It's you searching for a melody, or for the words for a poem, or for the story for your novel. But through that process, we can connect with others and create community. Because we live in a society where the stories are told by those who want to win and won the war, but an artist can be anybody. Someone that just one day put a story in a creative way and connects with others through generations. Do you know what's the most famous painting in the world? Yes, it's the Mona Lisa. And
Welcome back to the 2017 Trailblazer Honors. And now, from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Do you know what I like about the Mona Lisa? That everybody recognize that we are talking about art when we are, you know, in front of the Mona Lisa, or we have one of the many versions. I think it's the artwork that people made like more versions. The Mona Lisa survived more than 5 centuries. It's more than 500 years. And even if someone destroyed the Mona Lisa today in Paris, the idea that we have about the Mona Lisa cannot be destroyed, because we share that message, we share that symbol. So when I was thinking about this, and I decided to create I'm Not a Joke and sharing all these posters, people destroy my work every time. When I have murals or exhibitions, especially in homophobic places, people used to destroy my work all the time, but I can replace it because the medium is digital. So I call that artivism, because now my work is indestructible. It's just like the idea that we have of the Mona Lisa. They cannot destroy it. So when I had the chance to talk about what is art and what is the role that art plays in our society, first I say, well, art is communication, art is knowledge, and art brings a message that can survive us and that can portrays the reality that we are facing together. And it is very important to have artistic representations, artistic expressions where you can feel identified in the culture around you, because human beings are social beings, and we need of others to put a perspective in our identity and in our life. I think we understood that during last year being isolated, that we need others. And I think art brings people together. And I was very isolated in Venezuela. There was no representation of people like me, but I found people like me reading Virginia Woolf. I found people like me reading the poems of Federico Garcia Lorca. And when we put attention to the creation of an artist, we automatically have access to their story, but not only the story of an individual, but also the story of a society. And I think the creation of every artist is like a window to, it's like a time machine. We can just, for example, when I look at the photographies of Lewis Hine, showing this moment where child labor was, legal, and now people just forget about that. But we have proof that there was a reality like that, and even in this moment in the planet, there are places where this is still a reality. And same when we put attention to the Mexican muralism. And for example, the first time that I knew that I wanted to become an artist was when I was in touch with the work of Kid Haring, because it was someone, I think it was that I never met him. I mean, when he was dying, I was a newborn. I was just coming into the world. But there was a legacy there that teach me, like, you can use your work as your voice. And if art has the ability to transcend, it's very important to, as an artist, to tell the things that we are facing together, because that is going to connect us with other generations. That's why I call myself an artivist, because I now create artworks in formats that people cannot destroy, but also is accessible. Because sometimes to go to the biggest museums, you need to go to the biggest cities. And internet changed that, because now we can make, information more accessible to people. And to see or use my artworks, you don't need to be there. And I think that's like one of the biggest difference between artivism and activism, that the activism needs the activist to be there, needs the presence of the person, and needs also the speech. But sometimes we live in reality where being a human rights activist puts your life in danger. In my country, we have more than 600 political prisoners, and more than 10,000 people that just disappear, or they just killed them during protests in the last 8 years. But artivism is very useful, where defending the things that you defend put your life in danger. So sometimes you just need to put a poster or create a symbol, and that helps you to bring community together and to find people like you. That's why some people use my work in places like Russia, where my work is illegal, because it's considered gay propaganda. And even when you can fight against me, you cannot fight against my work, because we're going to leave this world, but the artworks are going to stay. And I think that's the power behind art, that an artist is someone that just appears one day and portrays reality in a sensible way and achieve a poetic experience and make others to feel close, to feel human, to feel something, and then we feel admiration for a stranger. I want to share with you If you ever were in Buenos Aires or you have the chance to go to Buenos Aires at some point in Argentina, I have a permanent exhibition in the subway of Buenos Aires. This is the Carlos Howdy subway station. This is a mural that is super big. We use meters in Latin America, so I know just the size in meters. It's around 14 meters. This is the first subway station in Latin America in having the name of a human rights activist. Carlos Jauregui was an Argentinian human rights activist who organized the first LGBT pride in Buenos Aires. And if you ever visit the city, just ask for the gay subway station, and then you can see my artwork there. And you can say like, oh yeah, he said one day like he was like Clark Kent and Superman. I'm about to finish, but I want to let you know that we can have like a conversation if you want to ask some questions. And I want to say thanks to my friends James Peterson and David McCartney, because thanks to them I'm here today. I met them in Chicago in 2017 during a presentation I had in Northwestern University. I was detained like for 5 hours in the airport, even when I was like, I had a letter from the university and I was super mad. And we met during that time, and then we became friends. And thanks to that, I'm here. I want to say thank you, guys. And I just want to share this quote that I really like. That the opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. And I think as an artist, this defines us very well. We have the capacity to create and to tell stories. We are storytellers. We are. My name is Daniel Arzola, and I'm an artivist. Thank you. Thanks. So hi Joyce.
Hi. I have a question, but
Yeah, go ahead.
where else in the United States is your work? I think you said that, but go over that again.
Yes. I don't have any permanent exhibition in United States. I had the chance to exhibit my work in 2017 in the subway of New York. And there is an LGBT center in Chelsea in New York. And they have also my work exhibited there. That's the only place, but I'm living in Minneapolis, and I'm gonna make it work. So I hope like the next time we talk, I will tell you I have a permanent exhibition here too. Let's see.
Have you thought about doing a book?
Yes, I had years writing my story, growing up in Venezuela, and how it's complicated because it's always a conflict to create something new, especially when you have to tell your own story. A white sheet is always a conflict that you need to solve. So I'm working on it slowly, but I'm going. Yes.
What is your current project? What are you working on right now?
I have been working on exhibitions. I had an exhibition that I inaugurated like 2 or 3 weeks ago in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm also holding an exhibition in Santiago of Chile. And in this moment, my work is being used on the streets of Lyon in France to bring awareness about the hate crimes against the LGBT population in France. Yes?
My wife and I were students in New York City. I was there from 59 to 63, and she was there 3 of those 4 years. And subway was only 15 cents, but I can remember getting off at 116th Street and seeing some artwork, and it was a good place for art to be displayed. Did you live there very long?
No, I never had the chance to live in New York, but you know, like so many people that I admire since I was a kid, just living in this problematic neighborhood in Venezuela, just thinking about New York was like a fantasy. So when I had the chance to go there, it was very powerful because it's a city with so much history and so many great people became a legend in that place that just being there made me feel that I want something, you know. It was like people like Kid Haring or Andy Warhol or even Madonna, they became legends there. So just for me, like this little person that grew up in Venezuela, having my work on the subway, I think I left like a tiny mark, but it was my mark. Hi.
Hi. If you create your art on a computer, when you have an exhibit, how is it shown? Is it shown on a computer, or is it transferred to paper or canvas or the wall, or what?
That's a very good question. My work is digital, but I reproduce my work in a lot of mediums, even in traditional mediums. When I have an exhibition in a museum, you can see my work on a canvas. When I make murals, I can even print my work on tiles. I can even print my work on t-shirts. So the medium is adaptable. I can sometimes, for example, I had an exhibition in Sweden where they use screens. But I have another exhibition in Uruguay where they use canvases. And sometimes I have the chance to make the artwork interactive. So you can see the canvas, but if you use your phone, you can see the artwork moving or having an interaction with you. But I can reproduce my work in almost everything. Yes.
Daniel, if we wanted to follow you, since you have these exhibits would we, is that?
Yes.
That's okay.
Yes.
Most of us don't have pencils and pens with us, so we need to get that to us. But
Yeah, if you have a phone, you can take a picture.
Yeah.
Or I can tell James to give you mine. You can talk with that guy there, and he can give you mine.
We're all gonna get to James.
He's my agent, no problem. Yeah. Yes. You wanted to ask something?
What is your own criticism of your own work?
My own criticism?
Your own
Oh, it's very difficult to me to draw hands. So I'm very bad drawing hands. I'm trying to get better doing that. And I want to feel more eloquent in English. I still feel like I learn English playing video games, so I would like to make my English more functional, because when I need to do these kind of presentations, I need like to bring like a lot of support, because you know the brain is like a maze. And yeah, I would love to have the chance to translate my work maybe better and my experiences. When I have the chance to write a poem in English, I will feel like I finally handle the language. Yes.
Do you have any contacts here with the any members of the art department at the university? Have you got any projects maybe that you're thinking of that might involve the university?
Something like that. Like last month, I was here and I gave a workshop on artivism for the Pride House of the University of Iowa. But nothing like to show my work on an exhibition. I'm always open to, to collaborate and to do new projects because I'm a freelance artist. So it's like chasing a big whale, you're always you always need to go outside and hunt for new projects. So I'm always open. But my approach with them was that a workshop that we had, I think it was last month. Someone else? Yes.
I wanted to see your paintings that are on display in Buenos Aires.
Yes.
Will you be able to access them on the computer?
Yes, you can look for the Carlos Jauregui station, or sometimes if you put my name in Google, sometimes the images from Google will show you that. Also, if you have social media like Instagram or Facebook, just using Google, I think it's gonna show you better. You can look for Buenos Aires. You can look just like Buenos Aires Gay Subway Station, and Google is gonna show that to you. Someone else? Can we call it a night? Yes.
I want to thank you.
Oh.
It's wonderful to hear your talk and to look at your progress in art and that kind of thing. And we have people in our family that have suffered these kinds of things, and it's great to see you so open.
Thank you.
So committed.
Thank you.
We need it.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Thanks.
This is just a bit of information that popped up on my phone. I noticed you had Frida Kahlo in one of your images. You have a photo of Frida Kahlo, and it says a Frida Kahlo painting sold for $34.9 million, setting a benchmark for the most valuable work of Latin American art ever sold at auction. So you have something to aim for.
Yes. Right? Yeah. Yeah, there she is. Well, thank you. There is someone else? Or no? Okay, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Lindsay, for helping me.